Y'all ain't gonna believe what's happening right now in the rap game. I mean, this one's wild. You seen that clip yet? Yeah, the one where NLE Choppa throws shade at NBA YoungBoy. But here's the thing. What you saw on social media is just the tip of the iceberg. I've been tracking this story for weeks, and let me tell you what really went down. It started like every beef in this game. Small, almost invisible. A line here, a reaction there, nothing to make the headlines, yet. But then, it leaked. Clips of Choppa's words hitting the internet like bullets. And you'll know the NBA YoungBoy response don't come soft. The way his team moved, the messages sent, the eyes that were watching, you could feel the tension through the phone. Loyalty on the line, respect questioned, and trust. That's always the first thing to crack in situations like this. I got sources telling me the phone calls were heated, voices raised. Some words said that you don't just take back. You said what? I told you about my respect. That kind of energy. And the streets, they already know. The rumors are floating, but here's the kicker. What's happening between these two ain't just about a diss track. It's deeper. It's about reputation. It's about territory. It's about the people you ride for and the ones you call family. By the time this video ends, you're gonna see that this moment in hip-hop, way deeper than it looks. And trust me, this story, it ain't over. Y'all ain't gonna believe what's happening right now in the rap game. I'm talking about NBA YoungBoy NLE Choppa and a situation that just got messy in a way nobody saw coming. And no, this ain't some clickbait post or Instagram flex. I've got the details, the clips, the reactions, and trust me, it's way deeper than it looks. So picture this. It's late night in Baton Rouge, YoungBoy's city, streets quiet but alive with whispers. A phone buzzes in his studio. A leaked snippet hits the timeline, fast as wildfire. NLE Choppa, all energy and aggression, dissing YoungBoy in a way that cut through the usual rap beef noise. Not just a verse, not just a shout out, but something personal, something that made the people around YB shift in their seats. Y'all seen that clip yet? No. Let me tell you what really went down. The snippet starts with Choppa laughing, real casual, but every word feels like a punch. You been acting like the king? Nah, that throne empty, he says. And in that moment, you can almost hear the streets of Baton Rouge vibrating, fans reacting in real time. It wasn't just words. It was a challenge, a public statement, and the type of energy that sparks fireworks in this business. People online started typing, tweeting, speculating. But here's the thing. While the internet was buzzing, in the real world, it was different. Inside YoungBoy's circle, it was tense. Like everyone was holding their breath waiting for the other shoe to drop. And here's the kicker. YB, he didn't post a reaction right away. Nah, he stayed quiet, letting the streets talk, letting Choppa's energy hang there like smoke in a room. But the people around him, they weren't quiet. Phones were buzzing non-stop, text chains blowing up. Loyalty, ego, pride. It's all on the line in moments like this. Someone whispered, "You said what? I told you about my respect." Another voice shot back, "Nah, this ain't over, bro." That's how fast it escalates when you mix fame, money, and street code. Now let me take you all back a little. YB and Choppa? They weren't always at each other's throats. There was a time, maybe a year ago, when fans were speculating a collab, some energy, some mutual respect. NBA YoungBoy, street legend in his own right, always careful who he lets close. You can see it in his eyes when he's performing, when he's on the move. Choppa, the young energy from Memphis, loud, relentless, with a hunger that sometimes borders on reckless. The streets love that. It's magnetic, but fame has a funny way of twisting respect. And in this industry, respect is currency. One wrong word, one clip, and it's a full-blown story. And that's what happened here. What started as a line in a song, or maybe a freestyle that leaked somewhere online, escalated. People start reading too much into everything. The angle of a verse, the tone of a laugh, the follow, unfollow on Instagram. And before you know it, every move is under a microscope. There's always a moment, a turning point, where something shifts. And in this case, it was that clip. YB's inner circle started weighing options, respond publicly and risk a full-blown war online and on the streets, or stay quiet and let the young energy from Memphis run its course. The debate was heated. Some said, he can't let this slide. You let people disrespect you once, they'll do it again. Others, more cautious, reminded him of what loyalty and patience really mean in this life. But in the world of YoungBoy, loyalty is everything, and patience. It's tested constantly. Meanwhile, Choppa, he didn't just stop at the diss. Nah, he kept stirring the pot. Clips leaked, interviews dropped, fans commenting, streets reacting. You'll think YB gonna respond? He ain't gonna do nothing. Man, Choppa wildin'. And in that energy, you can feel tension building like a pressure cooker. Every fan debate online wasn't just opinion. It was a reflection of how deep the respect code runs in hip-hop, in the streets, and in real life. And here's something people don't always see. Behind every post, every story, every comment, there's strategy. The people surrounding YB aren't just friends. They're advisors, managers, street soldiers. They weigh every reaction, every move. They know that a tweet, a snippet, a response video, it ain't just entertainment, it's power. And in this situation, power dynamics shifting fast. There was a moment, though, that changed everything. YoungBoy was in his studio, late night, headphones on, replaying that Choppa clip over and over. You could feel the tension just radiating off him. One of his people whispered, "What you wanna do?" And for a second, silence. Then YB muttered, low, steady, "Nah, they don't know what they started." And that's the type of line that makes you realize this ain't just about a diss. It's about respect, reputation, legacy. Fans didn't see the next move coming. YB didn't fire back on social media like a lot of people expected. He didn't jump into a video, didn't leak a snippet. Instead, he used the classic NBA YoungBoy move, controlled silence. Let the streets speculate, let Choppa's energy hang in the air. But behind the scenes, calls were made, security tightened, collaborators reached out, alliances were tested. People who thought they were untouchable in this industry suddenly had to think twice, and that's the wildest part. Hip-hop on the surface seems like it's all music, lights, and fans screaming at shows. But underneath, it's strategy, psychology, and street code all rolled into one. One diss, one clip, one conversation can shift everything. That's what makes these stories legendary and dangerous. But here's what people don't understand. YB isn't just reacting to ego. He's reacting to history, to loyalty, to a system where respect is earned the hard way. Choppa's energy might be new, hot, viral, but YB's legacy, deep roots in the streets, in the culture, in a life that's been tested more times than most people can imagine. And in moments like these, that legacy speaks louder than any snippet, any social media post. By now, the streets were buzzing. Baton Rouge, Memphis, even Atlanta. Fans trading clips, debating moves, predicting outcomes. And every time someone said, "This ain't nothing," YB's circle knew better. They knew that the next move could set the tone for months, maybe years. Loyalty isn't just a word in these streets. It's a life or death contract. And ego? That's the spark that lights the whole thing up. There's a certain poetry in it, though. You watch two artists, both young, both hungry, both carrying the weight of millions of eyes and ears on their backs, moving like chess pieces without even realizing it. Every post, every lyric, every look in a video, calculated, deliberate, intentional or not. And when you mix that with real emotion, fear, pride, love for the fans, anger at betrayal, the result, explosive. And just when you think it's calm again, another clip leaks, another story spreads, another friend whispers, "Man, this could go sideways." And in that moment, you realize this isn't just about rap. It's about the streets, about reputation, about proving yourself without losing your soul in the process. That's why this situation, way deeper than it looks. The streets were talking, but inside YoungBoy's world, it was a different rhythm. You see, what most people don't understand about NBA YoungBoy is how he operates under pressure. Silence isn't just a pause, it's a statement. And after that Choppa clip dropped, the silence hit heavy. People were expecting fireworks, a direct response, but YB, he was watching, listening, letting the tension do some work. Watching, listening, letting the tension do some work. It all started months before, though. Choppa and YB weren't always on this collision course. Their relationship had layers. Back in Memphis, Choppa was grinding, full of energy, spitting bars that got people talking. NBA YoungBoy, meanwhile, was on top of his own kingdom. Baton Rouge, his city, his rules. There was mutual respect early on, a recognition of each other's rise. But respect in this game is fragile. One wrong verse, one casual flex, and it shifts. And that shift came with a leaked video. Choppa in a studio session, smirking, throwing lines at YoungBoy like he was naming names in the street. "You been acting like the king? Nah, that throne empty." Simple words, but in the culture, words carry weight. That one clip had the internet exploding, yes. But more importantly, it sent shockwaves through YB's inner circle. "You said what?" "I told you about my respect. muttered one of YB's people, pacing. Nah, this ain't over, bro, came the response. That's how fast things escalated. This ain't just a music industry spat. This is ego, history, reputation, and street code all colliding. By now, fans were speculating non-stop. Twitter threads, Instagram stories, YouTube channels breaking down every syllable. But online energy? That's nothing compared to real-world moves. Baton Rouge was quiet, but tension was visible. People were watching from cars, in studios, on corners, waiting to see what would happen next. And trust me, when YB's people get involved, you feel the weight of it. Loyalty here isn't just a word. It's a contract enforced in ways the internet can't touch. The escalation didn't stop there. Clips kept leaking, interviews started dropping, and Choppa's energy didn't cool. Every time YB's name came up, Choppa doubled down, feeding the frenzy. And inside YB's camp, the debate raged. Respond now and risk a viral feud, or wait and let Choppa's energy hang in the air. There was strategy in silence, every move measured, every word considered. One night in the studio, YB sat alone, headphones on, replaying that clip, eyes closed, thinking, calculating. One of his close ones asked, "What you want to do?" And YB, quiet, steady, "Nah, they don't know what they started." That line? That's the mindset of someone who's lived through loyalty tests, street wars, and industry betrayal. It's not just about pride, it's about legacy, and let's talk about loyalty. In moments like this, it's tested in ways fans don't see. People around YB were split. Some saying strike back, some saying wait. Money, family, alliances, street credibility, it all comes into play. And in the midst of it, you see the human side of these superstars. Fear, pride, anger, and love, all tangled up. Choppa didn't back down. He kept leaking content, dropping interviews where he subtly shaded YB, laughing about it with his friends, letting fans speculate. The streets responded the way they always do. Corners buzzing, debates online, even shows becoming stages for side-eyeing and speculation. Every move, every snippet, every post, it wasn't random. It was strategy disguised as chaos. At one point, YB decided to address the energy, but not publicly. He met with close associates, people he trusts more than anyone else in the business. Conversations went like this. "You said what?" one of them asked, shaking his head. "Nah, bro. We handle it," YB replied, calm but firm. "That ain't nothing, you know?" another added. "I know. They just don't know yet," YB said. Almost like he was speaking to history itself. That's the thing. Every interaction was measured, but emotions were real. Loyalty, fear, ego, money, family, all colliding. And for fans, it's easy to see a diss and think it's simple. But in reality, these moves are chess. Every post, every clip, every public appearance can tilt the balance. And then came the turning point. Another snippet leaked. This one more personal, more direct. Choppa wasn't just talking about music or fame. He was questioning YB's credibility in ways that hit deep. YB's inner circle immediately responded with action, not words. Calls were made, plans were set, people were mobilized. Security, collaborators, trusted advisors, everyone had a role. It wasn't about violence, it was about reputation and control. But trust me, in this culture, the line between the two is thin. Between these moments, reflections started creeping in. YB's people began analyzing the psychology of the situation. "This ain't just about bars," one of them said. "It's about showing who controls the narrative. If we overreact, we look weak. If we underreact, we lose respect." That's the balancing act in hip-hop. In the streets, ego, loyalty, and strategy all dancing in the same room. And here's a truth most outsiders miss. YB is both human and myth. One minute he's a superstar performing in arenas. The next he's a kid from Baton Rouge dealing with betrayal, disrespect, and the weight of expectation. And Choppa, he's the same. Young, hungry, confident, willing to push lines to see how far they stretch. Put the two together, and you've got energy that's volatile, magnetic, and impossible to ignore. Fans started noticing changes in content. YB wasn't responding publicly, but videos showed him more focused, more intense, quieter in interviews. Choppa, on the other hand, continued his energy online, reacting to fans, dropping hints. The contrast was striking. One is a master of controlled silence, the other a master of chaos and visibility. And the tension between those styles? It's what makes this story pulse with life. It got personal too. Leaks suggested that some of the conversation wasn't just about rap bars. but about mutual associates, business moves, and street credibility. One clip had a close friend whispering, "You gotta handle this, or they gon' keep testing you." And YB's response was that quiet, measured statement we keep circling back to. They don't know what they started. Every step of this feud has a lesson in psychology and power dynamics. Watch closely. Choppa is testing boundaries, trying to gauge how far YB will go. YB is testing patience, measuring loyalty, and protecting legacy. Both moves make sense in the culture, but the stakes are real. Not just dollars, but respect, trust, and influence. And then there's the aftermath. After weeks of tension, speculation, leaked clips, and heated conversation, the streets began to breathe differently. Fans still debated who would win, who had the better response. But inside YB's circle, something else was happening. Trust was strengthening, loyalty was proving itself, and lessons about patience and strategy were being reinforced. By now, the story has grown bigger than a diss. It's about two generations, two energies, two approaches to power and respect in the modern rap game. YB's methodical, grounded, strategic. Choppa's spontaneous, bold, aggressive. The collision? Explosive, unpredictable, unforgettable. And here's the moral buried in all this chaos. Loyalty matters, strategy matters, and silence can be louder than a diss. Respect isn't given, it's tested. And when tested, you see who truly stands beside you and who's only playing for the camera. That's the real story here, way deeper than a social media moment or a viral clip. The dust hadn't even settled yet, but in the world of NBA YoungBoy, storms like this don't really end. They linger. You feel them in the air, in the streets, in the silence between clips. That silence? It's deliberate, calculated, heavy. The type of silence that tells the world, I see you, I know what you're doing, but I move on my terms. Y'all think it's just a diss between two rappers? Nah. This is about legacy, reputation, and the kind of power that doesn't scream. It whispers. And in that whisper, the streets listen. After the clips dropped, after Choppa's energy hit the timeline like a bomb, people thought YB would react. They expected fire, heat, a social media meltdown. But YoungBoy? He didn't give them that. He sat back, headphones on, studio locked, eyes closed, thinking, analyzing. Every single move matters. And in moments like that, you start to see the wisdom behind what outsiders call cold or unemotional. It ain't cold. It's precision. It's strategy. The people around him, the loyal circle, the street advisors, the managers, they were buzzing. Phones blowing up, texts flying like bullets. You gonna respond? This could get ugly. And YB just sat there, calm, focused, letting Choppa's energy hang in the air. But don't mistake calm for weakness. That calm, it's heavy, it's dangerous. It tells people, I'm in control, whether you see it or not. And here's where it gets interesting. The bigger picture isn't just NBA YoungBoy and NLE Choppa. It's the culture, the streets, the lessons hidden between every move. In hip-hop, respect isn't a word, it's a transaction. Every line in a verse, every smirk in a video, every leaked clip carries weight. Choppa's disses weren't just entertainment, they were tests. They were measuring sticks to see how far YB would bend, how much the circle would protect him, how patience holds up when ego's screaming for a response. Fans online were losing their minds. Twitter threads, YouTube reactions, Instagram debates. YB gotta clap back. Nah, he's playing chess, y'all don't get it. The streets, they felt it differently. Baton Rouge wasn't talking on Twitter. It was in the studios, on corners, in cars watching, analyzing, waiting for a move. And in those streets, respect is life and life is short. One wrong step, one careless word, and your name gets dragged for months. YB's silence created tension, a pressure cooker that nobody could see but everybody felt. Choppa didn't ease up either. He doubled down, dropping interviews, teasing fans, letting energy flow like gasoline on a fire. It was almost theatrical, like a scene scripted for a movie. But this ain't fiction, V. But this ain't fiction. This is life, real life. And in real life, mistakes can cost more than clout. Inside YB's circle, strategy meetings went down like street war briefings. We don't respond online, one of his people said. We move in person. Quiet, calculated. Let them wonder what's next. Another added, the moment you react to a diss, you lose control of the narrative. YB nodded. Calm. Controlled. The type of control that comes from living under pressure since you were a kid. learning that loyalty isn't just spoken, it's proven. And loyalty was tested, big time. Friends, collaborators, even family members had opinions. Some pushed for an immediate response, saying, "They testing you, bro. Don't let them get away with this." Others reminded YB that patience holds more power than reaction. And in that tension, you see the emotional side of these superstars. Pride, fear, love, anger, money, all swirling together like a storm. It's messy, chaotic, but it's real. Dialogue like this happened behind closed doors. "You said what?" whispered one loyal friend, pacing the studio. "Nah, we handle it," YB replied, calm but firm. "Man, they welding online," another voice added. "They don't know yet," YB said low. That line hung in the air like smoke, heavy and unavoidable. The turning point came with another clip. This time, Choppa's words weren't just bars. They were personal, almost intimate in how they challenged YB's credibility. That's when YB's inner circle knew action had to be taken, not through posts or leaks, but real-world moves. Calls went out, security tightened, collaborators were briefed. It wasn't about violence. It was about controlling the narrative, proving strength without losing composure. And that's a rare skill in this culture. Fans still debated. YB overthinking? Choppa wildin' too much. This feud gonna blow. But the reality is, the people closest to the artists see a different story. A story of loyalty being tested, of strategy in motion, of ego and pride measured like weight on a scale. And when you understand that, every move, every silence, every glance starts to make sense. And here's the truth people don't see. In moments like these, YoungBoy isn't just reacting to Choppa. He's reacting to history, to legacy, to the code of the streets. One diss, one snippet, one viral moment isn't just entertainment. It's a challenge. It's a test of patience, of loyalty, of leadership. YB's choice to remain quiet, to calculate, to let Choppa's energy hang. That's power. That's respect. That's control. Meanwhile, Choppa keeps pushing, playing his part in this story. But here's the thing. Energy only has meaning when it's measured against someone who can absorb it. And YB? He's absorbing it, processing it, turning it into strategy, into legacy. That's why his silence feels louder than any verse, louder than any social media clapback, and reflections start to hit hard. The psychology behind this feud is like watching a chess match in real time. Choppa testing boundaries, seeing how far YB will bend. YB measuring patience, loyalty, influence, legacy. It's not just rap. It's human behavior amplified by fame, money, and streets. Every clip, every comment, every post is a move on the board. And in moments like this, the stakes aren't virtual. They're real. And then you realize, watching all this unfold, that this story isn't just about a beef. It's about leadership, about controlling your narrative, about understanding that the loudest voice isn't always the strongest. Sometimes the quiet, the measured, the strategic moves define real power. And YB exemplifies that. His silence teaches lessons that go beyond music. Lessons about respect, loyalty, and patience. Even now, weeks after the initial clip, the streets still feel it. Baton Rouge, Memphis, Atlanta, everyone knows something shifted. Fans still argue, still debate, still post memes and clips. But inside YB's circle, something else has happened. Trust has been reinforced, loyalty tested, strategy proven. The lesson: respect isn't earned in the heat of the moment. It's tested over time, in silence, in measured moves. And as for hip-hop culture, this is the mirror it holds up. The industry moves fast. Fame moves faster. One wrong word can undo years of work, but true leadership, true power is steady. It's strategic, it's patient, and the streets, more than anyone, respect that. Choppa's energy may be loud and viral, but YB's calm control is the kind of influence that lasts, that shapes careers, shapes reputation, shapes history. And let's not forget the human side of it all. Behind the fame, the money, the viral clips, these are young men carrying expectations, legacy, and personal pride. Emotions run high. Loyalty is tested. Ego whispers to make the wrong move. But the wisdom in moments like this is what separates fleeting popularity from true greatness. YoungBoy's ability to measure, to reflect, to act deliberately shows why his name carries weight far beyond Instagram likes. So now we come to the reflection that matters most. The story of YB and Choppa isn't just rap beef. It's a blueprint in microcosm of respect, power, and influence. It shows that the loudest reactions aren't always the strongest. That loyalty is tested in ways that can't be measured by followers or views. That legacy is earned in quiet moments, in calculated moves, in strategy behind closed doors. And in this world, that's what separates legends from players. So here's where I turn it to y'all. Think about it. Did NBA YoungBoy handle this the right way? Did he show real leadership by staying silent, calculating, and letting the streets wonder what's next? Or should he have responded publicly, letting his energy match Choppa's viral heat? What does this teach about loyalty, respect, and leadership in hip-hop today? Drop your thoughts below. Debate it, break it down. Because the streets never sleep, and neither do the stories. This isn't over. Choppa's energy is still out there, fans are still buzzing, and YoungBoy, he's still moving like only he can. Calculated, deliberate, untouchable, teaching lessons in patience and power without saying a word. The moral is clear. In the game, in the streets, in life. Sometimes the quietest move is the loudest. Sometimes the longest silence speaks more than 100 bars. And in that silence, respect is earned, loyalty is proven, and real power. It rises quietly, like smoke over a city that's always watching. So, what y'all think about this situation? Did he do the right thing? Or did he let the heat get under his skin too much? Drop your thoughts below and make sure you subscribe, because this story is far from over. And trust me, in hip-hop, the next move could come at any moment. And the streets, they'll be watching. The thing about storms in the rap game, they never really pass. They linger in the corners, in whispers, in studio halls, in the back seats of rides where deals are made and reputations tested. Weeks after the initial tension between NBA YoungBoy and NLE Choppa, the ripple effect was unmistakable. Clips still circulating, fan theories multiplying, and everybody, from street kids to label execs, watching, waiting, trying to catch a crack in the armor. And here's the reality most people miss. The aftermath isn't just social media likes or viral reactions. It's strategic positioning. Who's still loyal? Who's gonna cross lines? Who's gonna try to insert themselves into the chaos for a payday or a headline? In these moments, the weak fold, the loud fold, and the calculated survive. YoungBoy's silence had created a vacuum, and the world, from rap fans to industry sharks, was trying to fill it. But YB? He knew what he was doing. He let the energy come to him, let it circulate, let it breathe. And in that breathing, he was observing, learning, mapping the field. Inside his circle, the aftermath played out like a chessboard. Calls were made, collaborations paused, deals reconsidered. Everyone wanted to know, where does YoungBoy stand? Does he retaliate? Does he move forward like nothing happened? And the answer wasn't simple, because loyalty, pride, and ego weren't just abstract concepts. They were living entities here. One wrong move could fracture a team, blow up a deal, or turn a loyal friend into a liability. Fans online were relentless. Memes, tweets, reaction videos, debates. The internet never sleeps. YB got a clapback? One thread read, "Nah, he's playing chess. Y'all too impatient," replied another. But in the streets, the conversation was different. It wasn't about likes or virality. It was about reputation, about seeing who folds and who doesn't. It was about watching closely how a man handles disrespect when nobody's watching, because the cameras only catch what they want you to see. Then came the industry whispers. Radio DJs, bloggers, label execs, all trying to capitalize on the tension. Could this be the next Drake-Meek beef? Someone speculated in an email chain that eventually leaked. If handled right, it could boost streams and visibility for both. But for YB, visibility without control was dangerous. He knew the industry wanted reaction, drama, content. But the streets? They valued control, and power without control is just noise. Emotionally, the aftermath was heavy. YB's team reported that he spent long nights reflecting, isolating, sometimes pacing the studio late at night, headphones on, replaying the clips, listening to bars, measuring responses. You could see it in his face in rare behind-the-scenes footage. A calm exterior, hiding a storm of thoughts. He wasn't angry. He wasn't reckless. He was calculating. Every line, every movement, every potential response measured against legacy, loyalty, and long-term respect. There were private conversations with Choppa's team too, not public threats. Not social media jabs, butt calls, and messages meant to gauge boundaries. This wasn't childish beef. This was negotiation. Subtle war. A silent communication of power. We don't want to escalate, but you got to understand lines have been crossed, one source said. Respect matters more than clout. And that's the key here. In street-level dynamics, respect often outweighs fame. It's the currency that builds careers and protects lives. Fans didn't see this part. They only saw snippets. But behind closed doors, the conversations were about survival, protection, and psychology. One insider described it like this. It's like watching a lion and a tiger in adjacent cages. Both dangerous, both aware of the other, both calculating their move. Nobody makes the first mistake. YB knew that. Choppa probably did too. But the streets? They were watching, forming opinions, making predictions, some accurate, some wild, and there was the mental toll. Loyalty tested, friends doubting, industry vultures circling, social media screaming, personal pride at stake, all heavy for anyone, even a star. But YB's experience growing up in Baton Rouge gave him an edge. He knew how to survive scrutiny, how to maintain composure under pressure, how to turn conflict into opportunity without burning bridges that mattered. That's something that doesn't translate to charts or streams. That's raw street intelligence. Even outside the immediate feud, the ripple effect influenced collaborations and alliances. Artists had to reconsider who they were working with, who they could trust, who they needed to distance from the drama. Mentorships and old-school wisdom kicked in. In this game, align with people who move with principles, not just hype. YB's silence was a lesson for younger artists. Don't get baited by clout. Control the narrative, control the energy, and the rest will follow. Then came moments of reflection on the cultural stage. Podcasts, interviews, street documentaries, everyone dissecting what had happened, what it meant for hip-hop, and what it said about loyalty. The quiet ones are often the deadliest, one commentator said. And that phrase, it stuck, because in hip-hop, action is always louder than words, and measured silence often speaks louder than any diss track. Dialogue behind closed doors continued. "You gonna post something?" a manager asked. "Not yet," YB replied. "Let them think I'm quiet. Let them feel the weight of patience. That energy, it's scary," the manager admitted. "That's the point," YB said low. "People respect control more than reaction. And that's the subtle genius here. While Choppa's energy is loud, virally infectious, YB's is contained, precise, lethal in its patience. It's a lesson about timing, about power, about understanding the psychological battlefield that fame and respect create. Meanwhile, fans started to see patterns in behavior. Clips resurfaced, lyrics interpreted, old tweets re-examined. The debate raged. Was YB ignoring disrespect or using it as strategy? And that ambiguity? It's intentional. Because in the streets and in the industry, uncertainty breeds influence. When people don't know your next move, they're compelled to respect it. Even YB's family weighed in. Not publicly, but in private conversations. Discussions about mental health, loyalty, security, and the weight of fame. They reminded him that the world sees the persona, not the person. The world reacts to clips, not context. And in that environment, the ability to remain grounded, to understand power, to control emotion, becomes a survival skill. By this point, the feud wasn't just between two rappers anymore. It was a case study in human behavior under pressure. Ego, strategy, loyalty, and influence all intersecting. And while fans might reduce it to entertainment, for those living it, it's a daily lesson in leadership and control. YB's approach, patience, observation, calculated silence, became a blueprint for navigating conflict while maintaining respect and influence. The street started to see the consequences too. Some allies quietly shifted support, not out of betrayal, but out of recognition that YB's way of handling conflict was the way of real leadership. Others tried to test the waters, send small signals, but quickly realized that patience was his weapon. He didn't need to move first. He didn't need to shout. His presence alone dictated energy. And as the weeks turned into months, the feud morphed into a legend of its own. Clips became memes, discussions became narratives, and YoungBoy's silence became symbolic. It wasn't just about one diss track. It was about patience as power, about calculated moves over emotional reactions, about respect being earned quietly, not demanded loudly. YB's team described the final stage like this. "We never let the energy get out of hand. No threats, no social media wars. just control, observation, preparation. And that's the ultimate lesson. In the streets, in the industry, in life, the ones who master their energy, measure their moves, and understand the psychology of respect are the ones who endure, who leave legacies, who become legends. By the end of it all, the takeaway was clear. Choppa's energy made noise, viral and immediate. But YoungBoy's control created influence, subtle and lasting. That's the moral of the story. Power isn't in reaction. Power isn't in volume. Power is in patience, strategy, and loyalty. And in that lesson, the streets, the fans, and the culture learned something invaluable. And so, the aftermath remains alive. Clips still circulate. Conversations still happen. Predictions still fly. But YoungBoy? He's still moving, still calculating, still teaching the silent lessons of leadership in hip-hop. And that's why this story, far from over, will be remembered not for the noise, but for the control behind it. And now, here's where it all comes together. When you look at what went down between NBA YoungBoy and NLE Choppa, it's easy to get caught up in the headlines, the tweets, the viral clips. But the real story, it's deeper than that. It's about respect, strategy, and how power moves in hip-hop and in life. YoungBoy didn't just react. He observed. He calculated. He understood that in this game, a single emotional move can cost you way more than a viral moment ever could. Think about it. Loyalty tested, friends watching, labels hovering, fans screaming for a reaction. And through it all, the real lesson emerges. Control your energy, measure your moves, and let patience speak louder than words. The streets, the culture, the game itself. It rewards discipline over drama, respect over noise. And that's why this story matters. It isn't just about a diss track or a heated clip. It's a masterclass in leadership, strategy, and the psychology of influence in hip-hop. So now I gotta ask y'all, what do you think? Did YoungBoy handle it right, or did he let it simmer too long? Could Choppa have done things differently? How would you move if you were in that situation, balancing loyalty, ego, and survival? Drop your thoughts below. I want to hear the street-level takes, the fan perspectives, everything. And don't sleep. Make sure you subscribe, hit that bell, because this story ain't over. The tension, the strategy, the aftermath, it's all still evolving. One clip, one comment, one move could shift the game entirely. And when it does, you'll want to be here first, watching it all unfold, learning the lessons, and seeing how real power moves in hip-hop. Because in this culture, the quiet ones, they're the deadliest. Quiet ones, they're the deadliest.